And then it came down again, and everyone's like, that is scary cool.
We'll take you inside the effort to save giant sequoia trees from wildfire flames.
So we're lighting all that fuel. We're starving the fire from fuel.
They're everywhere. How some communities are battling the invasive insect known as the spotted lanternfly.
Spotted lanternfly has expanded kind of along those transportation corridors.
And we're off to weather school in the latest installment of Social Meteorology.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. We're tracking the tropics once again this week. The National Hurricane Center is monitoring an area of development that now has a pretty good chance of becoming a tropical depression later this week. Now, this comes during an unexpected lull in the Atlantic hurricane season. Florida meteorologist Lauren Oleski is watching it all for us this morning.
Continuing to monitor this wave out in the central Atlantic. Increased development chances 30 to 80% through the next 2 to 7 days. Right now producing some disorganized showers and storms, battling a little bit of dry air, so likely not going to see any change to this development over the next 24 hours or so, but closer to the middle and end of this week, as it continues to move west-northwest, it moves into an area more favorable for further development, and we could see a depression forming here by the weekend. This will likely, though, as you can see it moving off towards the northwest, will then curve out to sea, so this does not pose any threat to us in South Florida. For the next week, there are no tropical threats to our area. Next name on our list is Gabrielle. Hurricane season, as we know, ends November 30th.
A tornado ripped through part of southeastern Utah on Saturday, destroying 3 homes. Some livestock and pets are still missing right now. In addition to those houses, the tornado destroyed 2 horse trailers, a hay barn, and also topped power poles that caused a power outage in that area. A witness said hundreds of people were at a fall festival when they saw the tornado touch down.
After it had come down the first time, everyone was just kind of like, oh, wow, that's cool. And then it came down again, and everyone's like, that is scary cool. Went back up, came down again, and everyone's like, all right, that cloud gets any closer, we're going.
That have been placed in nearby hotels. The National Weather Service says this was one of the 2 tornadoes to hit southern Utah over the weekend. And it's going to feel like summer once again across portions of the Midwest. Temperatures will soar into the 90s from Iowa to the Gulf Coast. Northern Minnesota will even get into the 80s, about 15 degrees above average there. Firefighters are making lots of progress to contain the Garnett fire in the Fresno area. It's now around 69% contained, leading firefighters to lift several warnings and also evacuation notices. But the flames have crept too close to some of California's treasured giant sequoia trees. Christina Rodriguez gives us an inside look at the efforts to protect them and other areas from the fire.
A lot of these giant spirits seem to have survived in a good way from the hard work of the men and women of the firefighting resources here.
Around-the-clock efforts are underway to protect giant sequoias within McKinley Grove that are threatened by the raging Garnet fire in eastern Fresno County.
That's why you see all the crews in here that are working. They're doing mop-up, they're monitoring the trees.
CAL FIRE reported Saturday the fire sparked by lightning in late August has now burned 59,000 acres and is 69% contained. The California Incident Management Team says with the flames, steep terrain, and smoke, even helicopter efforts are difficult, forcing them on foot.
What we're doing out here is we prepare for the fire to come to protect the communities of Dinky Creek and to protect Shaver Lake.
First, looking for safe areas to backburn.
And we're lighting below the road to contain the fire that we can't go attack directly. So we're lighting all that fuel. We're starving the fire from fuel.
Another tactic used to save the over 2,000-year-old trees are sprinklers.
After 4 days of running the sprinklers, we got the average relative humidity in here to 55%, which was about 20% higher than outside of where the sprinklers were.
The boots on the ground work, giving firefighters a chance to gain control, but the task has to get done.
We cut all the trees and we get all the low vegetation off the ground.
The numbers of spotted lanternflies are significantly growing across the eastern half of the country. The swarms are so big in some places, they're even showing up on weather radar. The invasive species are native to Southeast Asia with no natural predator here, meaning their populations could continue growing. Meteorologist Jennifer Herbert has more on how Central Ohio is addressing this problem.
There's a growing invasion on the streets of Columbus. Spotted lanternflies are here, and they are growing in numbers.
We've known of spotted lanternfly being in the Columbus area for a little while now, but it does seem to be expanding. The populations are growing in a couple of areas of town.
The Ohio Department of Agriculture says in 2025, so far, there's been 2,100 reports of the insect. Just last year, that number was 1,400. So why are we seeing more of them? Jonathan Shields, spotted lanternfly program administrator at ODA, says it's because they are good hitchhikers.
Populations are building, especially in the Columbus area, Toledo area, Cleveland area, kind of the bigger cities. That's where there's a lot more transportation corridors, and spotted lanternfly has expanded kind of along those transportation corridors like railroads and highways and those kinds of things for a number of reasons.
Native to Asia, the invasive insects were first confirmed in Ohio 5 years ago. Without natural predators in the U.S., they pose a major threat to native plants, including grapevines, fruit trees, and hardwoods. So what should you do if they are around your home?
One of the things that we would stress probably is that you can control spotted lanternfly on your property. Everything from stomping on them or squishing them to chemical treatments and several other steps in between of varying intensities. You just want to choose the strategy that works best for where you are.
And now to Oklahoma, where worries are growing about the resurgence of a parasitic fly that threatens agriculture, animals, and even humans. Grant Palmer tells us more about the fight against New World screwworm.
When New World screwworm burrow into the flesh of living animals, they cause serious damage that can be deadly if left untreated. They infest livestock, pets, wildlife, and as we saw recently, in very rare cases, humans.
Parasitic flies that were eradicated from the U.S. in the 1960s are starting to make a comeback, threatening agriculture. Representative and farmer Frank Lucas speaking about how serious the threat was taken when he was growing up.
But I've listened to my late father and grandfathers talk about going out every day, all summer long, with a bottle of stuff to paint newborns' navels and to treat every wound on an animal.
Rollins says according to the CDC, at least 4 human cases have been detected in the U.S. since 2014, all of those people traveling to South and Central America. That's why USDA is working in partnership with Mexico to combat the problem.
In February, USDA and Mexico implemented a comprehensive pre-clearance inspection and treatment protocol to ensure safe movement of our livestock across the southern border.
Rollins adds they're starting to get back to the basics to eradicate the screwworm again by doing this.
By mating the female screwworms, the sterile flies render their larvae harmless and stamp out the threat to our animals. This is how we got rid of it back in the 1960s.
In the past week, temperatures in parts of Maine dipped to freezing or a little bit above it. Meteorologist Ryan Munn says it was due to radiational cooling. He explains how it works, starting with one of the most important elements needed, high pressure.
With high pressure in control, you have sinking air, and as it descends, it will lower the relative humidity of the air, leading to a drier air mass and less cloud coverage. Now let's take this back to the beginning. During the daytime, the sun heats up the surface, the grass, the concrete, buildings, etc. At night, the warmer air will try to rise and escape towards space. When the clouds are present, they will act like a blanket, keeping some of the heat closer to the surface, leading to milder temperatures at night. When we have clear skies and calm winds, the warm air has nowhere to go but up. This typically leads to cooler nights, which is why we saw our first frost advisory of the season across parts of the north.
And check out this photo from the Salt Lake City office from the National Weather Service. Look carefully inside that circle and you will see some white. Those clouds, those aren't clouds. It's snow high in the Uinta Mountains. The snow is likely at an elevation over 10,000 feet, but it's a subtle reminder winter is on its way. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how officials in California are dealing with invasive golden mussels.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Mullen. Let's get a look at the Northeast for the day on Monday. High pressure in control. We are looking at lots of sunshine all throughout the Northeast for the day on Monday. Get out there and enjoy it. Tuesday, much of the same. We are going to see mainly sunny skies. Notice these clouds down to the south. There's a storm system to our south as we head through later Tuesday and Wednesday that may bring some showers to parts of the mid-coast, but otherwise we are looking dry. Temperatures will top out in the 70s and 80s all throughout the Northeast.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We'll be starting the week dry here as we head into Tuesday. We'll likely be seeing showers moving into the region. To the south of Maryland is where they'll begin Monday afternoon, but I think late Monday night into Tuesday we could see an area of low pressure bringing showers to the region again through Tuesday, even into Wednesday. So we're going to start actually a period of something we haven't seen in a while, some wetter weather. Temperatures a little on the warmer side to start, in the 80s and maybe cooler as we get to Tuesday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. We're looking at hot temperatures building in from the Midwest. We're looking at 91 degrees in Nashville, Birmingham, 91 degrees, 90 in Mobile. Slightly cooler temperatures as you get up around Carolina, 76 degrees in Raleigh, 84 in Charleston, another hot one down there in Tampa, 91. We're seeing sun and clouds for many areas, but we do have a little bit of chances for showers along the coast, along the Carolinas, and over towards Arkansas, and down in Florida, afternoon showers.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A beautiful northern lights display Sunday night thanks to an overperforming geomagnetic storm. The best chance to see the show was away from city lights, and these shots were captured north of Green Bay, Wisconsin. These views from Michigan's Upper Peninsula near Lake Superior and in northwest Ohio. And here's a recent look at a fog bow over cow pasture near Green Bay.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Last week, we passed the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. The Gulf and Caribbean are heating up, though. Meteorologist Noah Hawk tells us what that could mean for the remainder of the season and also beyond.
As we pass the peak of our hurricane season, we'll want to be shifting the focus towards the sea surface temperatures over in the Gulf and the Caribbean because things are starting to heat up. Some readings out there right now showing the Gulf right at 84, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and in the Caribbean right around 86. And when it comes to tropical systems and what temperature they need to start to develop, it's right along that 80-degree mark. And even some places, according to the National Centers for Environmental Information, along the eastern Gulf are reading 93 to 94 degrees. So that's a whole lot of heat, and that means a whole lot of fuel for if a tropical system is to move into this area. We haven't seen one yet this season, but it still could happen. So we'll need to watch out because if one is to, it can take advantage of all of that heat, which means a whole lot of fuel for this system to rapidly intensify and possibly become a very powerful and destructive storm. But what else could we see as we head later throughout this year? Well, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, we could possibly see something known as a La Nina setup. That means over in the Pacific, we'll see some cooler sea surface temperatures, and in response, over in the Gulf and the Caribbean, we could see those sea surface temperatures warm. And all that warm water means more moisture, which means more fuel, but in a different way. As we head towards November and December, that's when the severe weather season starts. And so if this fuel is to move up onto land into the southern portions of the United States and even the Ohio River Valley, it can help to intensify some of that severe weather.
Well, it's a favorite time of the year in Wisconsin, apple picking time, but spring was cooler this year and is having a surprising effect on the harvest. Meteorologist Audrey Lee tells us more.
The cool weather we had in the spring had a big impact on the apple trees across northeast Wisconsin.
We had a fairly long bloom period because it was cool, but the cool, I think, didn't get the bees coming out.
The slower pollination means some apple varieties are lighter this season. But don't worry, there are still lots of apples.
The net result is the crop will be light. But on the other hand, on years where we have really good pollination, the crop is a lot of times too heavy, or too much fruit for the trees. So this year, the crop load on a lot of the trees is probably optimum or just right. So we're getting a nice sized fruit.
Apples such as Honeycrisp and Cortland are expected to arrive earlier than usual.
So I know we're going to get Honeycrisp and Cortland's probably early to midweek next week.
And when it comes to running an apple orchard and the weather, you just have to roll with the punches.
You get what Mother Nature gives you. You don't have a lot of choice.
Whether you're Team Honeycrisp or Team Macintosh, this season shows just how much Wisconsin weather can affect the harvest.
Invasive golden mussels have been spotted in lakes in California. Now officials are taking steps to help stop their spread before they become a bigger threat to the state. Vincent Rupina has more.
Approximately 6,800 inspections have been conducted at the California Department of Water Resources Thermalito inspection site since the program began in May. The suspected mussels recently found would mark only the second time the invasive mussel were seen there.
We find it to be in the best interest of protecting our water resources and our infrastructure that we've developed here to provide water supply.
The California Department of Water Resources Oroville facilities, including the Thermalito Afterbay, Forebay, and Lake Oroville, provide water to roughly 23 million Californians. Once the mussels take residence, the ways to remove them would be extremely labor-intensive and put water supplies at risk. The mussels typically invade new areas by traveling downstream or when they are transported on a boat. One group susceptible to carrying the mussels is the fishing community.
We'll see boaters from throughout the region coming, especially because of the popularity of the lake and the Afterbay for fishing. And the fishing community does move around to water bodies quite a bit.
The California Department of Fish and Wildlife are still investigating the discovered mussels to determine if they are the same invasive species. Von Bauer said there is no timeline for how long the program will remain in place. Last week's detection serves as a reminder why it's important that inspections continue.
Time now for a segment that we call Social Meteorology. This is where we highlight social media content from our team of 200 meteorologists. Today we start with Christina Ernie and her post about drought.
Nearly half the country is currently in a drought. That includes New England. We hear stories every day about heavy rain, storms, and flooding, but why is it so hard to recover from a drought? The easy answer, not all of the rain that falls during a storm actually makes it into the ground to replenish the groundwater. So say the forecast calls for an inch of rain over a day span. Part of this rain will replenish the lack of moisture in the soil, but runoff water will also go into creeks, streams, and reservoirs. Plus, warmer daytime highs and lows across the country contribute to more evaporation. So this single rain event is only a temporary fix. What we really need is a few good soaking rains. That's what's needed to truly fix or improve a drought. This improvement may take months since it can be pretty tough sometimes to break the dry pattern or cycle.
Hey everybody, meteorologist Will Haney here. Check out this awesome video. Watch this cloud that forms. It's just amazing. So a big line that almost has this wedge shape to it. And notice how there's no rain necessarily underneath that cloud base. So these clouds are called roll clouds, and they form when you have rain-cooled air kind of surging ahead of an area of rain or storms. When that rain-cooled air collides with warm, humid air over the lake, we get condensation and this really amazing cloud that forms. You'll also sometimes actually feel that rain-cooled air as these move overhead and onshore. These clouds are similar to shelf clouds. In fact, they're in the same family, but they're different in the sense that they're detached from any thunderstorm base. They rarely pose an immediate threat, but often signal incoming rain or storms.
It is early September, and we're already seeing the colors of fall. But is it for the reason you think? Hi, I'm meteorologist Tara Blake. Let me explain. Thanks to big fluctuations in temperatures here recently and a lack of rain, trees are stressed and they're changing prematurely. So what is actually happening here? Well, chlorophyll, that's the green in the leaves, breaks down faster when it's very dry, revealing underlying yellow and red pigments before dropping leaves. and it is early for most. In Ohio, for example, widespread color change doesn't typically start until late September, continuing through October and even into November. These early signs that are being observed are best explained as stress responses instead of a true seasonal shift. At least it's beautiful.
And time now for a short break, but first we take to the skies over Montana.
Well, a very good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Mike. We got a little bit of rain to the far north today. Otherwise, maybe a stray pop-up or two as we get into the afternoon across the central part of the Midwest for your Monday today. But it is going to be pretty toasty across a lot of the Midwest. Some of that rain tomorrow is going to be more into the central western plains. And as we continue on into your Wednesday, that rain starts to build up a little bit more and moving its way to the east with cooler temperatures.
Good Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at your forecast across the region, and we'll start in the low 70s for most. We'll climb into the upper 80s to lower 90s. We do have an isolated rain chance out there across the region, but no big weather system to talk about. And same thing again on Tuesday. We'll start near 70. The afternoon is in the low 90s for many with just an isolated rain chance across the region. Have a great Monday.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Stella Sun. A cold front will sweep its way across parts of Montana and bring showers and thunderstorm chances through parts of the Rocky Mountain West. Daytime highs will be hanging out in the 60s from Missoula through Jackson, mid-80s from Albuquerque to Denver, and over triple-digit temperatures in Phoenix, Arizona, 80s in San Diego and San Francisco, and comfortably in the sweet 70s for Portland, Seattle, and parts of Boise. That's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk. You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, lightning and thunder can be frightening to see and hear. Meteorologist Vitas Reed explains how both form.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed. I want to talk to you a little bit about how lightning forms and also how we hear thunder. How the lightning forms is we usually see warm air rising upward in a motion, which produces clouds, and that can reach to freezing levels. And once it reaches that level, what we're seeing is actually ice crystals and particles of water droplets, and they begin colliding and in the cloud. And what we see is a separation of positive and negative charges when you have that collision happening. And usually the positive charges are near the top of the cloud, and then the negative charges at the bottom, and on the ground you usually have the positive charges. Electricity travels between the charges, causes a flash, and that's where you get your lightning. But then we also have thunder that forms, and how does that happen? Well, we usually hear that thunder as you get that lightning flashing. Well, about 1 mile, you can see it's about a 5-second traveling time, but nonetheless, that's the separation of the air quickly as the lightning burns the atmosphere, basically.
And looking for more weather news and video, check us out on social media. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.